And welcome back, YouTube. Okay, I need to turn my air conditioning. It's just that temperature now where the air conditioning on full is cold, but the car without the air conditioner quickly starts to feel like an uncomfortable sauna. So it's 8:16 p.m. Saturday, August 13th, 2022. I was in the middle of a story in the last vlog. I just had an interesting conversation with the driver of that taxi right there. It says our biggest problem is runners. I believe that. I'm just like, why are you not getting cash up front? It's like, you're not a cab driver, you've never had to deal with runners. I'm like, I've had to deal with runners. So, but I'm like, credit card or cash up front. Anyway, had an interesting chat, cabbie chat. Hopefully I gave her some pointers that'll help her if she's losing income due to people running on her fare. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I've certainly had some runners, but for the most part, my cab driver sense is pretty good on when and if I need money up front. And if somebody gets indignant about it, you know, it's like, well, you don't like it, you're welcome to get out of the cab. I pretty much doubt that I've ever lost any money as a result of somebody getting pissed off and not wanting to ride with me because I asked for money up front. I figure every time I did that, I figure I just avoided somebody that was going to run on me. So, anyway, so yeah, the story about Wes, which actually directly ties into cab driving, which is kind of funny that I would be there fueling up next to a cab driver. Yeah, this light, I want to keep moving, I'm going to turn right. That's oldest cab driver trick in the book. I don't want to sit at a red light, let's turn right. So anyway, I'd known Wes about a year and a half. During that time, I didn't have a car, and Wes lived up in Square, which is the area around Cave Creek Road in Bell. Well, maybe that's a good place for me to go right now. Corey was telling me that they had a new KJ and a new karaoke system up at Bridget's Last Laugh. Last time I went there, horrible karaoke experience. I swore I would never go back again, but if it's a new KJ and a new system, it's functionally a new bar as far as karaoke people go. So yeah, that would be fun. I got over half a tank of gas right now. I just put 20 bucks cash in over at the AM/PM. It's always a little better if you price there if you pay cash, I think. And whatever, I'll top it off tomorrow. Maybe the next day at Costco. Oh, excuse me. So anyway, now before I became a cab driver, I didn't have a car, and that would have been in the time period between. Actually, come to think of it, that was less than a year. I'm saying a year and a half. No, that was actually less than a year. It's hard to remember back all these years ago because it was so long ago. My memory is sometimes I have trouble remembering what I did like an hour ago. So, anyway, yeah, I want to say I moved to Phoenix in like October, late September, October, maybe even early November of 1991. And I know when I turned 21, my 21st birthday, I was still living in Jackson Hole. Very distinctly remember my 21st birthday in Jackson Hole. And I know I was there for a while after I had turned 21. I was old enough to go in bars legally, which was not nearly as exciting as going into bars before I was 21. And shortly after that, I lost my job at KCGH, which I had employee housing, so I also lost my home, and I packed up with a bunch of so-called friends who basically stiffed me for everything that I owned on the way in Las Vegas. And my mother kind of saved my ass by buying me a plane ticket from Las Vegas to Phoenix and wiring me enough money that I could take a cab to the airport. Which, had I realized where the airport was, I could have just walked there. But anyway, but I didn't know at the time. And yeah, I ended up flying here. My mother met me at the airport, and I arrived like the prodigal son in desperate need of help with literally nothing but the clothes on my back. So, thanks, Mom. Yeah, at 21 years old, which is, certainly old enough to be taking care of yourself. And for the most part, I took care of myself from the ages of 17 to 21, but boy, not too long after I was 21, I had managed to just completely fuck up on every level imaginable. Now, granted, I was a victim of crime. I was a victim of people ripping me off, but, what had I done to protect myself from that and to make sure that I had, assets that couldn't be touched by those people? Absolutely not a damn thing. They got everything, including my cat Tigger. So, yeah, not good. Anyway, so that's when I arrived with nothing. Mother gave me a bicycle. It was a rather nice bicycle. It was a Specialized Hard Rock. Loved that bike. I was already a bicycle enthusiast before that, but after that, since I didn't have a car and needed to try to figure out what I was doing with my life, I just started biking a lot. But I biked more than just I had to for transportation. I started biking a lot. I started biking like 40, 50 miles a day. And sometimes I'd go out with friends that had cars. And I still had some friends in Phoenix. I had lived in Phoenix prior, like I grew up in Phoenix. And then I had lived in Phoenix for a bit of time. This guy in front of me has no lights on at all. Dude, turn on your lights. So, which my right headlight is not working. I need to take care of that, and I woke up too late to take care of that today. Yeah, this guy is completely blissfully unaware that he has no taillights on. Excellent. Anyway, I'll keep following him, because the guy with no headlights is certainly more of a red flag than the guy with one headlight, if a cop is bored. So anyway, I arrived with nothing but the clothes on my back. Got the bike from my mom. She offered to let me live in the house, this extra house that she had near Sweetwater and 35th Avenue. Hey, if you could just take over the payments, you can have that house. I kind of bought that for you and your sister. Blah blah blah. I was in that house for years. Never really got as ahead as I should have been on it, but that's a separate tragedy. Anyway, so I started biking everywhere. Got some fast food jobs just so I had money coming in. I kept thinking I would find more radio work, because I had been doing primarily radio work at that point from the age of like 17, and I was 21. So I figured I should be able to find a radio gig. I never did find a radio gig. And just ended up getting just in the whole fast food trap where you're working so much you don't have time to look for any other jobs. As I ended up picking up 3 jobs, like I was working at Burger King and Church's Chicken and Little Caesars. And my main job kind of ended up becoming Little Caesars. Eventually got promoted to store manager at Little Caesars. Not that they really paid me like a store manager, but I was certainly doing the job. I got a little raise, but it was kind of an insult for the amount of work and responsibility I had there. Anyway, I keep following this guy with no headlights on. Kind of curious how long it takes him to notice that he needs to have lights on. And I'm sort of going that way. Oh shit. I'm thinking I might have locked Priscilla out. I don't think I did. I'm not meaning to lock Priscilla out tonight. I hope I didn't. And if she did, she can. If I did, she can call me. I'm not working. No, this guy still got his taillights off. Presumably his headlights on. So yeah, I was working, but I met some friends. I still had some friends I had kept in touch with from when I had lived in Phoenix in '89, and one of them introduced me to Wes, and Wes and I just became like really good friends. And even though he lived pretty far from me, I regularly rode my bike to go hang out with him when I had time off or even after work, which is quite a bike ride. They're headed into the expensive houses. It's a pretty exclusive community he's turning right into there. Biltmore Estates. Anyway, as he goes in with no headlights, hopefully the guard at the guard shack will tell him, dude, you need to turn your headlights on. Anyway, but yeah, I used to regularly ride over to Wes's house. We'd hang out and listen to music and smoke weed and just have a good time and tell the stories of what it was like when we were younger. And at the time I was 21. I don't want to say Wes was like probably 23, so a little older than me, but we're about the same age. And it wasn't unusual for me to end up getting kind of hammered at Wes's place and ride my bike home in the morning. Sometimes leaving barely in time to make it to whatever fast food job I had the next day. I think I need to be I'm not sure if I got to be in the left lane for this intersection coming up. I'm turning left up at Lincoln, but I'm trying to remember if memory is telling me I can turn left from the right lane. I'm going to make sure I give myself enough space to change lanes in case I need to. But the cab driver voice is telling me I'm okay in this lane. And that voice is usually right. Yay. It's been so long since I drove this, it was like self-doubt screaming, are you sure that doesn't make any sense? It made perfect sense. And now all those people are in the long line of cars, and I'm here behind the one other guy that knew you could use this lane. This is an interesting intersection. As you see, it's not pedestrian friendly at all, but there's really nowhere for pedestrians to be or go at this intersection. So. And all the lane lines are gone. That's not good. I think there's supposed to be 3 lanes here, but there's no lines, so not sure where I'm supposed to be driving. I guess I'm going to get to the right. I hope that bad noise is coming from somebody else's car. Anyway, yeah, so I mean, Wes and I were good friends. We hung out. I started driving cab towards the end of August in 1992. And that was the result. I'm trying to remember if there was any connection between Wes and the girlfriend I had, Amy. It was because I believe there was some kind of connection, but I think it was like not a direct thing. Like, I don't think Amy was a friend of Wes's. I think Amy was a friend of another friend that I had who introduced me to Wes, whose name I don't remember at the moment. Anyway, Amy was not able to drive due to vision issues, which is probably why she thought I was so good looking. But anyway, yeah, so Amy took cabs everywhere, and that was kind of, that guy's car sounds terrible. So that's kind of what resulted in me I just had to change plans. I just remembered there's a dive bar directly ahead of me that I've been meaning to come back to. I just went into for the first time a few weeks back, and also a Taco Bell, so I can handle the fact that I'm hungry, and then go check out that place. I want to see what they're like on Friday nights. See if that's a potential for maybe karaoke could go there. Actually, Saturday nights. It's Saturday. I don't know why I'm saying Friday night. It's Saturday night. Anyway, I better move forward with the plot of this story, because I'm I'm on the wrong street again. Go me. Anyway, I was planning on going north, so suddenly decided to go south. I was thinking straight ahead of me, but now I need to go south. Anyway, hopefully I'm far enough back that the guy behind me lands on the sensor and doesn't drive past the sensor. Nope, he didn't get there in time, so non-issue. I'm pretty good at manipulating the sensors to get the green left arrow. And I'm sure I got some videos with examples of that. Someday I need to make a proper produced video showing how those sensors work and how to always get a how to almost always get a green left arrow. And Phoenix, that guy's going to turn right into the wrong lane. I knew it. Guys and big fans don't know how to turn right into right lanes, and to be fair, they have a pretty. Oh, that guy doesn't even turn left into cleaners anyway. Yeah. So Amy was indirectly the reason I became a cab driver, because I was riding in cabs with her everywhere. Amy had a high-paying job. Amy always had money. I was kind of Amy's loser dependent boyfriend that she was keeping around because I made her feel good. I pleasured her. She was supporting me, pretty much completely supporting me. Anyway, no, I stayed in West. In touch with West the whole time. I always tried to, always swing by his place, even if I didn't talk to him on the phone. Because phone. I'm thinking for a while he didn't even have a phone. He lived in his apartment up in the square with no phone, and like nobody had cell phones back then, except for lawyers and really successful drug dealers and cab drivers, which I quickly joined that flock of cab drivers with cell phones. Of course, who never made personal calls on it, because damn, I can't afford to spend that on a personal call. Every call that comes in on that needs to be making me money, so I can afford the damn phone bill, which sometimes was like 4 digits. And by 4 digits, I mean, yes, it was over $1,000 for my phone bill. Anyway, where was I? I was tripping out on types of businesses that are on this street. This area is really gentrified in a big, big way.
It's Tom of Venezia's Pizzeria. We love providing great food for family gatherings, parties, even work meetings. And we make it simple.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, that was, but of course at that time it was a lot more acceptable to just randomly knock on somebody's door. Like now that is so taboo. Like nobody does that anymore, right? Because you should text or call before you randomly show up at somebody's door. I mean, and to be honest, like half the time I hear somebody knocking on my door, I don't answer it. And I wonder, like my friend Jeff, I had sent him a note and he did finally text me back. It's like, I actually came and knocked on your door a couple of times. I'm wondering, like, if one of those times maybe I heard somebody knocking at my door and it freaked me out so much I didn't answer it. Like, I wonder if that happened, because that's my general reaction to somebody knocking at my door. It's like, oh, why would there be anybody knocking at my door? But, I'm back in the early 90s, it was normal to knock on somebody's door, especially if somebody didn't have a phone, or you're coming, you rode a bicycle and you had a long ride there, and of course you didn't have a phone on your bicycle. Oh, screw that line. Holy crap. I'm going to turn in just so y'all can see how long the line is for Taco Bell right now. Yeah, that is a hard pass, kids. I do not wait in lines that long for Taco Bell, ever. Actually, let me phrase that. Since I'm on the subject of being a cab driver, there is one time I do wait in line that long for a Taco Bell. When I have a passenger riding on the meter that wants to wait in that line for Taco Bell. They want to pay my traffic delay rate, which is usually, I believe when I started as a cab driver, it was like $18 an hour, and I think the last time I drove it was something like $28 an hour. Yeah, if they want to pay that to sit in the Taco Bell line, I will happily sit in the Taco Bell line. But my time, even out killing time on a Saturday night, is worth more to me than that. Or is it? Because I've basically been rambling and driving around between this video and the last video almost 40 minutes. I think I'm just going to go over to QT. It's not the best food, but I know I won't be waiting long for it. Actually, kind of more tempting to go to Circle K, get my sip and sip drink, although I think today might be the day it expires. I know there's a QT about a mile south of me here. I can't think of a Circle K between here and there, but if there is one, I'm going to stop by it. I can totally think of one. There's one on Roosevelt, or not Roosevelt. I'm sorry, Missouri, on the right side, I think, 16th of Missouri. Pretty sure I'm on southbound 16th Street right now. Or is there? This is Missouri. I guess there's not. I guess I was thinking, oh yeah, no, that's on 7th Street, Missouri. That's the Circle K. Circle K is 7th Street, Missouri, across from the Bashes, or at least what used to be Bashes. 5 and Diner, that's a Coulter. Okay, my landmarks are coming together in my head. Anyway, after I became a cab driver, I kind of had the freedom to drift over to Wes's place a whole lot more often in my cab, and I found myself working in that area a lot. So I a lot of times, just if I was between fares and there was not much going on in terms of business, which wasn't very often. Usually I stayed very busy with Yellow Cab, but if I had a little hang time, I'd just go and, you know, burn an hour with Wes. Anyway, it was not too long after I drove for Yellow Cab that I started driving my own independent cab, and it wasn't really too long after that that I expanded and I needed drivers, and Wes was down to try being a cab driver for me, and Wes drove for me, I want to say, for like a year, maybe over a year. I was not even going to talk about this. I was going to talk about about what you do when you're with a hostile roommate situation and they're telling you to get the fuck out. And mind you, in this situation, Wes and I had certainly way more rights to stay there than Priscilla does in my current situation. But yeah, it had turned hostile to the point that my sisters... so anyway, yeah, so I really got sidetracked. So anyway, by this point in time, and I guess I got to get the important stuff out. Wes and I had been best friends for a long time. I had been Wes's employer for a long time, which at one point resulted in the very difficult situation of me having to fire him. Not fire him per se, but basically, you know, tell him he can't keep working for me because his driver's license got suspended, and I certainly was not in a financial position to take care of what needed to be taken care of to fix his driver's license. I told him, you know, once you get that settled, you know, come back with the MVR, you can go back to work for me, but I can't have you driving my cabs without a license. Yeah, my insurance was very strict on that, as pretty much all insurance policies are. Anyway, yeah, so you know, but it was no hard feelings. I mean, Wes understood that was not a personal thing. Wes understood that it was, you know, and of course Wes wanted no, you know, harm for me as his best friend, as, you know, to me or my cab company. So anyway, and we stayed in touch for the most part, but there did come a point where we had just kind of drifted apart. I was pretty much fixated in, you know, what I was doing, which was the cab driving thing, and at that time I was putting in so much hours I didn't have much of a personal life outside of cab driving. And I really don't know what happened to Wes. All I know is that Wes and I drifted apart, and I didn't see him for several years. In fact, in between those several years, I had at least two mental breakdowns that resulted in me being in mental hospitals. So yeah, a lot happened between the time Wes and I kind of stopped hanging out, which yeah, definitely thinned out after he stopped driving for me. So anyway, fast forward the clock several years, and I'm driving for AAA cab, mostly doing a lot of voucher work for AAA cab, which I was always good with. A lot of the other drivers were like, oh, don't give me no vouchers, don't give me no vouchers. The vouchers were the reasons I was always way ahead on my lease. The vouchers are the reason I made really good money with AAA cab, and all the cash fares on top of it, that was just pocket gravy. I mean, I made a good living just off vouchers with AAA cab. And through it anyway, and at this point in time I was back to living in the house on back to living and kind of worked things out with my mom, and I was back to living in the house up on Sweetwater. And anyway, so I'm driving down. A good video that I did of a clip where I'm driving through the zone, and I mentioned that there's the homeless medical clinic. I point on the left as I'm going through all the tents. Now, mind you, all the tents were not down there back then. That's something that's just happened within like the last year and a half. But there were always a lot of homeless people just hanging out there, wandering around, pushing their shopping carts, doing their drugs, that sort of thing. Anyway, I'm down in that area and don't particularly like working in that area, but it's a voucher from the little medical clinic that's pretty much sure money. And what appears to be a very feeble old man comes out of the clinic who can barely move and is walking on a cane. And I help him into my car. And then I realize, holy shit, this is my former best friend who I haven't seen in a few years, Wes, who looks like he's aged 10, 15 years since I've seen him, and can barely walk with a cane. And I was just dumbfounded, like, oh my God, what happened to you? And then God, I'll be honest, I had some pretty hardcore feelings of guilt, of like, Jesus, you know, was this my fault for basically leaving him hanging without a job? Could I have possibly provided him other stuff to do other than driving for Express Cab? Yeah, thinking back what my Express Cab budget was like, no, I couldn't. But I don't know, maybe I could have helped him more than I did. Anyway, yeah, it was. Anyway, at that point, I just drove him to his destination to log the miles, called in the voucher, got paid for the voucher. I think I was taking him to some kind of shelter or whatever, some kind of homeless shelter, and I'm not dropping you off here, Wes. It's like, where are you going? I said, man, you're welcome to stay with me until you get on your feet. I said, that's the least I could do for you. I said, we'll figure something out. And he's explaining to me that he doesn't know what's, I'm like, well, what's wrong with you? What's going on? He's like, the doctors say unknown neurological disorder. Unknown neurological disorder. And I'm trying to tell the story of like us leaving a hostile roommate situation and going to a hotel. The rate I'm going, I'm never going to get there. So for those curious, since I've delved into it, what happened with Wes and the not being able to walk, during the time we were living together, and I'm trying to remember exactly where we were living, because Wes and I ended up bouncing between 3 different places during the time we lived together. Actually 4 different places if you count the time that I was actually staying with him at his place, which was a much later time period. That was, I think, after I went to prison, which was after I found Wes stumbling out of the clinic on a AAA cab voucher. Wes, I just remember one day, I want to believe it was at the house. We had this little house on 17th Street. I want to believe it was by the time he was living in the house. We were living in the little house. Pretty sure we were living in the little house by then. I'm pretty sure it was after we evacuated the house on Sweetwater, which is what I'm trying to make the focus of this story. He came in and just basically cried on my shoulder the way only really good friends can. And said, well, I finally know what's wrong with me. And that's when he finally got a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis and was told that he had maybe another year to live. And that hurt. I mean, I was crying right alongside him, and I finally reconnected with one of my best friends, and granted he was in bad physical shape, but it sure was good to be like around him again and to hear that news. That was tough. And he's just like, well, this is certifiably awful, but on a brighter note, actually, come to think of it, I think we might have still been at the Sweetwater house then. Anyway, on a brighter note, at that point, with the paperwork that he had just got from the doctor, as much as that was horribly awful bad news. Sorry, I'm needing my air conditioning again. It's getting hot in here. As much as that was horribly awful bad news, the good news was that he should have no problem getting any kind of public assistance or disability or anything. Anything. The Social Security Administration was not going to argue with that piece of paper and that diagnosis and that prediction for not being on benefits very long, because you're going to die soon. God, I'm just making me cry thinking back to that. It was a really emotional time for me, and I wasn't even the one getting the bad news. Anyway, so I'm trying to remember if that happened before or after us evacuating a really hostile roommate situation, and I'm not 100% sure because that was a long time ago. This was in like the late 90s. I want to say 98-ish. Maybe 97, 98, somewhere in there. Anyway, the 90s are mostly a blur for me. I smoked a lot of weed and have had a lot of mental breakdowns since then that have cost me some large chunks of my memory and scrambled large chunks of my memory. So there's that. Anyway, so I can't remember if this was before or after the situation of him coming in with this diagnosis, telling me I had multiple sclerosis. But anyway, Wes and I are at, I think Wes was in his bedroom. I don't know that he was directly a part of this scenario I had. But anyway, we're living in the Sweetwater house, which my mother owned. At that point, I don't even think I was trying to purchase it from her. At that point, I was just contributing what I could in rent, which wasn't much. And staying there with my sister Kim and her boyfriend at the time, who was kind of a piece of shit, Darren Eckert. And don't even let me get sidetracked talking about Darren Eckert, because God, that's a whole nother story. But anyway, I don't remember what was going on. We're in the kitchen, we're arguing about something, and Darren comes at me with a kitchen knife. Not that Darren needed to come at me with any kind of weapon whatsoever, because Darren was like a good 10 years younger than me and like twice my size. Darren was a big dude. I mean, no question why my sister was attracted to him. He was a big, muscular, manly dude. Women like guys like that, even when those guys are complete pieces of shit. Anyway, yeah, Darren was a big, muscular, burly dude who could have broke me in half without even trying. Doesn't mean I wouldn't stand up to him, but you gotta know when to back the fuck up. This guy can break you in half, that guy could break me in half. And he came at me with a knife. And I think by that time, Wes had come out of, like, there had been enough commotion that Wes had come out of his room and was there. Obviously, Wes can barely walk at this point, so he's not going to be any assistance to me in a fight. If anything, I'm going to, be it's going to make the situation worse for me, because I'm going to feel a definite need to protect Wes, who, at this point in his life, can't even stand up by himself. No slighting on Wes, the man has multiple sclerosis. Hello, it's a very debilitating thing. So, Anyway, long story short, and I'm just getting like flashes of memories of how frightening that situation was. I'm just like, fine, Darren, you fucking asshole. I'm out. Just back the fuck up. Put the goddamn knife down. Let me grab my shit. Just let me grab my shit. And mind you, I'm not even trying to get everything. Like, I've got a lock on my door. I'm reasonably sure I can lock my door and he's not going to steal my records and shit. And I've always been about, music and records and high-end turntables and audio equipment. Like, that's my passion. Of course, I had a Laserdisc player. My feeble collection of Laserdiscs. I have a pretty awesome collection of Laserdiscs now, but at that time, pretty feeble collection of Laserdiscs. and which I had spent a lot of money on them. And it's back when a Laserdisc was typically 40 to $50 a pop. Anyway, yeah, I didn't take that stuff with me. I just brought the essentials, like, you know, just duffel bag full of clothes, enough clothes to get me through the next couple of weeks, and just all the essentials. Like if you're transient and planning on living out of hotels and maybe bouncing hotels, like the shit that goes into that duffel bag, that's your essentials you need to be with you and to keep working. And of course, my vehicle was a taxi. I had a AAA cab on a 24/7 lease. But yeah, I grabbed all the essentials needed for work. At this point, Wes was pretty much living out of a suitcase. So, I mean, Wes was functionally already packed up anyway. I think Wes kind of saw that this was coming more than I did. But yeah, he grabbed his suit, like pretty much everything Wes owned at this point fit in like a suitcase and maybe a duffel bag. And I filled up a duffel bag full of stuff and locked my bedroom door. Told him, "Dude, you fuck with my door. You fuck with my door, I'll see your ass in court." And I don't think there's anything you're going to be able to say to my mom that is going to convince her to let you stay in this house if you fuck with my room. I definitely told him that. So I think that'll be a line. I think I'll be crossing a line with her if you fuck with my room. And anyway, and to be fair, Darren never did fuck with my room. I did come back a couple weeks later, at a time Darren wasn't there. I don't know, maybe about a month later, after we got the little house down on 17th Street, and all my stuff was in my room exactly as I left it, and I was able to took a few trips in the cab. I was able to move everything to my new place. But anyway, the moral of the story is, well, I'm trying to continue with the last video, and if anybody actually followed with me through all of this crap, I'm amazed. Like, wow, 37 minutes, y'all are bored. What ended up happening was, and this is like why did Priscilla not do this? And mind you, I didn't have credit cards then. Priscilla has credit cards. I have credit cards now. Priscilla has credit cards now. I don't know how much available credit she has, but I'm assuming quite a bit. I could be assuming a lot, but I do know her FICO's hard enough. If she needed money, she could certainly apply for another credit card and get it. Not that I'm recommending going into credit card debt for anybody, but there is a time and a place for it, and I would argue that this is the time and the place for it. But yeah, we got all the essentials into the cab, and I'm thinking of all the shitty hotels that do weekly payment and super cheap motels, and I'm like, you know what? So there's this really shitty hotel off 24th Street in Van Buren that we could probably get a room at. We'll sort it out from there. And so, Wes, I got you. At this point, he's not getting any kind of benefits yet. I'm not even sure if he got the news that he had multiple sclerosis yet. But at this point, I'm determined to take care of Wes until he does. Because I know it's going to happen. I know it's a sure thing. I know what Wes was like before we lost touch, and how physically fit he was, and how he used to climb palm trees, and how he used to, have no problem with biking for several miles, many miles, like 20-mile plus bike rides, and how suddenly, like, this guy can't walk. So obviously he has a legit disability. He's not faking the shit. He's visually aged like a lot since I've seen him, so it's taken a toll on him more than just his not being able to walk. And this guy's got some kind of seriously something wrong with him. He's going to get, as long as he continues, and I need to, at that point, I'm just determined to be his support system while he navigates the system that doesn't offer a lot of support while you're navigating the system. The system that would have him in homeless shelters and not really getting the care he needs. Not that I was able to care for him much, but I'm just trying to keep a roof over the man's head and make sure he has a safe place to eat where other people aren't stealing his food. He had got food stamps at that point, so at least food wasn't a problem. And he was definitely helping me out, somewhat with the food. But anyway, not that I needed that, but I appreciated it. Anyway, we ended up just going to a hotel, and I had enough cash on me to, for us to stay in a hotel. And I guess the moral of the story is, as bad as things got with Priscilla and I on Saturday, like, why the fuck did she not do that? Goddamn. Yeah, that's where I was going with all that. I don't know. Can't explain that. And I'm not sure where we sit right now, because we were certainly kind of acting like a couple last night. And there was definitely some intimacy last night, although it wasn't particularly good intimacy. I don't want to go into any more detail on that. Mostly her just going off about, oh, you're going to be involved with this person, you're going to be involved with that person, you're just going to be fucking everybody with a pulse by the time as soon as I'm out of your place. Like, well, it's interesting you're concerned about that. Anyway, so I don't know what she's doing, and I guess she's working on moving her stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'll talk more about that in the next video. I need to go get some food. My gosh, it's 8:54 already. Actually, it's 8:57. I can never remember, like, if I need to add 3 minutes or subtract 3 minutes on that time. I need to add 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8:57, almost 9 o'clock. I should have really set that time by now. Like, when am I going to take the time to set the time? I don't know. Yeah, I'll talk more about Priscilla's moving stuff once I get back with some food and a drink. Anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for coming with me on this drive, and hope some of that made some sense to somebody.